They started off with the Brehons, but they became the Brehons. But only specialised in law. And law, of course, was different. It wasn't like going to court. It was restorative justice. If you did something wrong to somebody, you made things right with them. You made them whole. But there was no prisons. You didn't go to prison. That was only brought in later on. There was no prisons. You made them whole in whatever way you could do that. Hey, it's Alan here, and I wanted to quickly talk about the difference between education in the Brehon times in Ireland and the modern education system. And the main big difference is the modern education system overwhelms you with information. Now, when you think back on what you learned in school, you may realise that a lot of what you were taught was never ever used in your life. Now, I did a video on this before talking about quadratic equations. Whereas quadratic equations I had to learn, I had to understand when I was in school. And I have never used them again. Never once. And maybe they're useful, but they're not useful to me. Now, that's the big difference between Brehon times and today, the education system today. Whereas the education system overwhelms you with general information today. And you need to memorize this information and regurgitate it out, like educational bulimia. Now, it was different in the Brehon times. Now, the way the modern education system works, where it really kind of gets you to learn lots of unrelated information, is very similar to the way a lawyer, if there's one lawyer and another lawyer and they want to overwhelm them so they're not prepared when they go into the case, is they send lots of documents out to snow them under, so they have lots of stuff to go through, but they're not prepared for a specific case that they're going into, because it's all unrelated documents. But they have to go through it. They can't not go through it. They have to go through it. They send lots of unrelated documents. Now, in Brehon times it was a little bit different. In Brehon times, each family or tribe was expected to specialise in a very specific area. There were families who would only specialise in poetry, in storytelling. There were families who would only specialise in law. They started off with the Brehons, but they became the Brehons. But only specialised in law. And law, of course, was different. It wasn't like going to court. It was restorative justice. If you did something wrong to somebody, you made things right with them. You made them whole. But there was no prisons. You didn't go to prison. That was only brought in later on. There was no prisons. You made them whole in whatever way you could do that. So there was families who would specialise in law. There was families that would specialise in medicine. Just in medicine. And it was herbal remedies. It was natural medicine. But there was families that would only specialise in that. And there was also families who would only specialise in things like maybe beekeeping or in hunting particular animals or butchering, and there was families who would specialise in each area, and each of the tribes, because of this, each of the tribes would, or families, you call it families or tribes, each of the families or tribes would rely on each other, because each one was specialised in a specific area. So it was, even though it wasn't a centralised system like we have today, it was a very decentralised system, but decentralised with all families and tribes relying on each other. So they all needed each other. So quickly, I just want to go through, just as really quick, I want to go through the difference between today's education system and the education system of when the Brehons were around. And it's a very, very different situation.